Hi there. If you don't know me, I'm Ty, and exactly 1 year ago, I quit my full time job to start a company. And since then, I've raised $0 of revenue and I haven't released a product. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to give myself a scorecard and give some just general reflections on how the past year went. So let's get into it. First take.
Um, I'll do a quick version right now, and then we'll break it down in a sec. So I went full time in January. I left my full time job and I went full time into Switchback. Awesome. That was sweet. And then I experimented with a bunch of ideas because I didn't have an idea that I was committed to. So I got excited. Then I realized it was going nowhere. And I did that a couple of times till I settled on what became a calendar idea that people got more interested in compared to my other stuff. And I committed to that. And then I got some traction. I felt good about actually spending more time with it and building a prototype. I did that. I launched it. It went terrible. I decided to make some big changes. I did that. And then I got bit by a cat and needed surgery and was out of commission for a while. And then I got better. And now we're here. So let's go. I'll talk about some highlights there. First, like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to build, but I knew I wanted to build a big tech company that would do things differently, that would follow through on some values better than our incumbents do right now. So this is why I didn't know what it was. I was trying out a lot of stuff. It was more about how it's done rather than what it was. So I can talk more about that in a different video, but that was the gist of it. And this is why my ideas are just everywhere. The first one was a way to help rock climbers remember more, or at least remember in crucial moments when their life's on the line. Literally, too many die each year because they just forget. And so the idea was to put this thing on their helmet that would remind them of certain steps that they're doing. And it didn't go anywhere because they didn't want it. Simple as that. They didn't want it. They hated it. So I moved on to a way to help remote workers in Microsoft Teams visualize their teams better, the actual individuals better, by seeing them in a sort of cafe that's organized by topics. So it's more easier to connect with new people when you're just onboarding or you're missing your friends. I ended up leaving that because I was so sick of dealing with the HR and business sales cycle that I hated it. I gotta be honest. Then we moved to Montana to be more in the outdoors and just for something different for a bit. Then I got distracted for a bit. I say distraction in a light sense. What I put out here with these podcasts are really quality interviews, well researched. The guests are awesome. It's very on brand, but it wasn't helping me with getting revenue and getting product market fit. That said, I did make 10 really good episodes, and they're out there, and there's blogs and a newsletter with it and the whole thing. I was also going through a phase where I bought into the idea that the more followers you have, the easier it is to distribute. And I think that is true, but I spent an inordinate amount of time just trying to get more followers, trying to post things that people would like, and doing that on Twitter, Indie Hackers, Product Hunt. It's weird seeing so many versions of myself here. Um, but anyway, I did that for a bit, and then, like I said, I was settling onto the calendar idea. I had a lot of sketches on what kind of tool I would like, what it would do. I was reading about productivity and what could be better, just thinking about the apps I use. These are initial sketches. And then I found bullet journaling, which solves a lot of those problems. And so this was my first bullet journal and a sketch from there and a couple more sketches. And so then I took those from the notebook and put it into a design software called Figma where I could visualize it better. And these are a couple of the things I started to come up with. This is like big picture, your vision, your mission, your priorities coming down to earth to your calendar. Very conceptual at this point. This is the dashboard of just like things you care about would each have its own dashboard. So this is my climbing, my events, my goals, my pictures, my mottos. They're all here. And then I started honing it into a more specific product, just thinking about all those things and reducing it down to what could I actually build in a reasonable amount of time. So this is where you see the ideas sort of kind of narrowing a bit, the colors changing, and it just getting more minimal and realistic. So those were some sketches, some concepts, a couple more here. And then I started actually building it. So starting to code, and that's what you're seeing here is a heat map of me writing code and what time of year I'm actually doing that. So summer, basically. Um, it always starts ugly, right? Blank page, one button, adding some things to it, importing your events. This was the first version, like I talked about. It got going really quick, and I pitched it. I made a landing page, and I got signups, and people liked it. About one in every three or one in every four people who visited the site signed up for the wait list. So I was encouraged to keep going with it, and I did. And then I launched it to some people, and it went terrible, and it broke all the time, and it was just a shit show. There's no better way to say it. So I realized I couldn't keep going with this architecture. What you're seeing here is kind of a Frankenstein of other products, and I borrowed some legally, and I put it together, and I made it my own, and it just wasn't good enough that way for people to actually use it. And so I learned that painfully during the launch, and I decided to redesign it from scratch with my own designs and my own code. I did have help from a developer part-time for a little bit, but that was the idea. That's what I learned. Then I got bit by this guy, and I needed surgery and rehab, and I couldn't really type for a bit. And if you get bit by a cat, like, it's no joke. Their fangs are like needles, and they get in there and inject some bacteria. So anyway, I spent about, I don't know, a month and a half just recovering, and that was definitely in one of the low points of the year where I didn't hadn't launched anything. I wasn't having any users. I had no revenue. I was making no progress, and it was tough. So the good news is I got better a lot. I got better pretty quickly, and I started to be able to type again. Then we moved back to Minnesota, long story short, to be closer to family and to be by a tech hub. And that basically brings me to where we are now in January 2022. So a couple things I would have done differently over the last year, now that I've thought about it, is I would have done a real launch instead of doing a sort of vanity launch or doing whatever I could to launch ASAP, as everyone says. I would have listened to my gut and realized that what I was launching was never going to work in the first place, and spent more time on just making it better. And obviously, I would have ignored the stuff, doing the things that just weren't very useful in terms of my time and the output, the podcasting, the blogs, the networking, the the Twitter stuff. Not that it can't help long term, but it just wasn't right for the time, especially since it's just me, and I needed to develop for the app to come alive. And third, I would have started building an audience right away. So like I said, I had the mission and the vision from the start, even though it was pretty vague and broad, but I felt like I couldn't really talk about it too much because I was constantly changing my idea of the product, and I felt like I didn't have credibility with people because I every time I was popped up, it was like a entirely new thing. So I if I were to do it over, I would have just started from the base of what I did believe in, what I knew was going to be constant, and found people who resonated with that, and that probably would have helped me find a product that they would have loved in the first place. So I feel like you can always start with the audience, and I wish I would have done that. And I wish I would have teamed up with someone earlier. Like, I wish I would have been looking for someone when I was still in full-time work, and um, it just because it's hard to do it all by yourself. That was one of the things I learned. I can only do one thing at a time. It's hard for me to always regulate my own reasoning. Sometimes I can fool myself into doing things that aren't useful. So having someone else's would have been a big help. Uh, Focus, I learned, is really important. So when I did hone in, I got a lot done, and it was better for me to just do something well than doing a lot of things not very well. And lastly, it's been worth it. What I lost in stability, I definitely gained in just happiness and being able to control my time and to be more flexible and spend time with family and take off when I wanted has been awesome. And it's going to be even better next year, hopefully, because I'll finally be launching the thing. I am looking for a co-founder, and I'm putting it out there that I'd love to find someone who resonates with building a better tech company, and who wants to do the technical side of things while I do a lot of the marketing and the business and the product design, stuff like that. And then I'm eventually this year going to need to figure out get the money right, because it's going down, and I am going to either need to get a job and or raise funds. So that's that's happening this year. So that was the year in the nutshell. That's why I learned about it. And thanks for watching. Bye.